Welcome, everyone. Today we are looking at common failure patterns in concurrent, stateful systems, and more importantly, how to reason about them like an engineer rather than just a coder. The big idea is that a design can look fine in a happy path demo and still fail under pressure. Our job is to identify the hidden assumption, name the invariant that matters, and defend the design with evidence. Let's start by organizing the space. The main lecture topic branches into several failure patterns: race conditions, deadlock, missed signals, and live lock. Each of those should lead us toward evidence, not just intuition. And then evidence feeds design response. That is the professional loop here. Identify the failure mode, capture the proof, and choose a correction that protects the right property without pretending the trade-off disappears.
So the patterns are less like separate facts, and more like different ways the same design pressure can break an invariant.
Exactly. Once you see that pressure, the next question is, what evidence will let you prove the failure instead of just suspect it? A race condition begins with multiple writers and no protection. That can produce a lost update, stale state, or other results that look random but are actually explainable once timing is involved. A common mistake is to assume the method is correct because it worked once. The key idea here is to force the design to prove itself under repeated execution, because only then do we learn whether the state transition is actually safe.
Why did it pass the sequential test if the design was already wrong?
Because the test never applied the pressure that exposes the invariant violation. Sequential success only tells you the happy path is reachable, not that concurrent writers cannot corrupt the state. This pattern is about reading state, deciding based on that read, and then acting after the state may already have changed. That gap is where the bug lives. The operation is built on a stale view, so the invariant can break even though every individual step seems reasonable. In practice, this is why we want the design to expose the transition explicitly and why we test with a repeatable scenario rather than a single clean run.
Is the real problem the stale read, or the fact that the code treats the read as a guarantee?
The second one. The read is fine. The hidden assumption is that nothing relevant can change before the act step. That assumption is what must be made visible and defended. Deadlock is a circular resource dependency. One thread holds one resource and waits for another, while a second thread does the reverse and now nothing moves. What makes this especially dangerous is that the system may appear active right up until it stops making progress. The engineering question is not just how to prevent the cycle, but how to recognize it in logs, traces, or blocked worker evidence when it happens.
So the failure is not just waiting, but waiting with no escape path.
Right. Waiting becomes a design failure when the dependency graph admits no progress, and the evidence cannot distinguish that from ordinary delay. A missed signal happens when something is signaled before the receiver is actually waiting. The notification is effectively lost, and the waiting side can sit forever. This is a classic timing failure, and it is easy to miss in a baseline test because the timing has to line up just wrong. The fix is usually not magical. It is a guarded wait, a stronger state protocol, and evidence that shows the wake-up condition is handled correctly.
What invariant are we protecting here?
That a wait only begins when the condition is still unresolved, and that the signal cannot disappear before the waiter is prepared to receive it. Live lock is different from deadlock. The system is busy, but it is not getting anywhere. You may see retries, backoffs that are too weak, or actors constantly changing state without ever completing the work. That is uncomfortable because activity can fool people into thinking the system is healthy. The thing to measure here is progress, not motion, and that is why a progress metric matters.
So lots of retries is not evidence of recovery unless we can show forward movement?
Exactly. Retries only help if they eventually resolve the contention instead of sustaining it. When we say evidence, we are being very specific. We want correlation IDs so we can trace one workflow, entity IDs, so we know which object changed, state transitions, so the narrative is reconstructible, and latency plus retry data, so pressure is visible. Then we need a repeatable workload because without repeatability, we cannot compare the baseline to the fix. This is the kind of material that makes a failure defensible in review.
What evidence would actually convince a reviewer that the failure is real?
A trace that reconstructs the ordering, plus workload and timing data that reproduce the bad behavior under the same conditions. The design response starts with the invariant, not the tool. Once you know what must remain true, you choose the mechanism that protects it, such as a guarded transition, explicit coordination, or a retry-safe path. Then you make the transition visible, validate with a test, and defend the trade-off. The important point is that protection is never free. You usually pay with complexity, waiting, or reduced throughput.
Isn't adding coordination always the safest fix?
Not always. It can solve ordering, but it may also create bottlenecks or deadlock risk. The right mechanism depends on the invariant and the failure pressure you are trying to contain. Here is the practical comparison. A simple baseline is easy to explain, but it often hides timing assumptions. A guarded transition protects the invariant directly, but it requires careful state modeling. Explicit coordination makes dependencies visible, though it can add weighting. And observability-first design gives you strong evidence, but it means more instrumentation work. The right choice depends on what failure you are trying to make impossible, or at least measurable.
So if my assignment needs a defensible integrity packet, I should choose the option that gives me the clearest evidence, even if it costs some throughput?
Yes, if the trade-off is explicit and the evidence shows baseline, failure, correction, and residual risk. That is what makes the design defensible.